Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Crypto Crow, and it's about 4:36 p.m. on Monday. Yo, Ariel, what's up? Hello. Some interesting action going on with Bitcoin, and I've got a lot to cover. Some pretty interesting articles going on, and yep, third. Welcome, Natasha. Thank you for all of your help and everything that you do to help the communities. A lot of stuff going on. What's up, Roach? Greetings. Mario. I miss the music. Well, you know what? Out of all the videos I've done in quite some time, you're the first person to say that. Crow, you should get Crypto Kirby on so he can call us all degenerates. I've tried reaching out to him in the past, and he just doesn't respond to anything. And, you know, a lot of these guys, they like being anonymous. They don't want to be targeted for anything. And, you know, really, it's probably the smarter way to go to some degree. But, yeah, great interview with Alex. Thank you. I really do like Alex a lot. I really do. He's such a good guy, and he's you know, everything that he does, he really believes in his mission, and he really believes in what he's trying to accomplish, and it shows in droves. You know, typically, you know, somebody who's just kind of in it for the money, so to speak, they, you know, you don't see them when times are tough. You don't see them when things are down. You know, people that are very self-serving and they're just kind of about themselves and what they're getting out of it. You know, they don't stick around. You know what I mean? They're not out there pushing, pressing hands and just doing what they need to do to perpetuate their mission and their goals. And Alex is one that's always out there. He's always out in front of it. You know, I mean, Charles Hoskinson, he's another one. You know, say what you will. You know, a lot of people think he's kind of a fair weather kind of guy. He only talks to you and likes you when he needs something from you and that sort of thing. My guess is he's a bit of a high D personality, and I'm similar. I am a high D, and so I understand it. I don't take offense to it. You know, like if he needs me for something, he's very chatty. If he doesn't, it's hard to get him going. But I don't take offense because I understand he's on a mission. He's working on things. He's trying to get stuff done and move forward. And typically when your focus is on forward progression, it's difficult to work backwards or to look back or to spend time doing things that aren't benefiting you in the moment, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. So to each their own. Watch Charles live on Twitter. Very interesting thoughts and really looking forward to the project. I am too. Now, you know, I watched Bitcoin go, it dropped quite a bit, obviously. So on March 7th, we started seeing this fall. We dropped all the way down to 38.15 or thereabouts, 38.30. And, you know, on Sunday, we got another big dip. And I started wondering, I'm like, you know, I wonder if there's any pattern in Sunday price action, because obviously with a 7-day trading, and then you know, America goes to sleep, you know, Sunday night, Asia wakes up while we're sleeping, and then they take over from the market. And typically what I've seen, and I don't actually have it open, I closed it because I kind of debunked my own theory. My theory was, does this happen every Sunday? And you know, does the price typically drop quite a bit on Sunday, and kind of wick down all the way into the evening and then start to pump on Mondays as Asia wakes up and starts taking over while we're sleeping? It's 50-50. I mean, and I think that there may very well be some other patterns associated with what happens on Sunday evenings, but I haven't gone that deep into my research or my calculations or any of that stuff yet. So as of right now, I basically looked at the last 3 months. I looked at 12 Sundays. And it was 50-50. Some Sundays the price goes up and closes up. Other Sundays the price is erratic and stays the same. And then other Sundays it just drops quite a bit and then picks back up on Monday. So I don't think there's any real strong pattern. There's nothing to be said. I really wanted to do a video, you know, this day of the week could get you, you know, solid gains, you know, consistently. But it's just not the case. So I didn't bother with it. And so I went to the news to see what was going on. Now, I also want to point out, I have officially started a podcast. And I'm going to find out how many of you There's 163 of you right now. I expect this is going to go up as my live continues. 171. And I want to see how many of you guys actually want this. But here you go. There's a link in the description. I encourage you to check it out. And when you go, make sure you subscribe. Okay? I want to see how many subscribers I can realistically generate. Because the more support this podcast gets, the more active I will be on it. And I started this with my interview with Alex Mashinsky. Now, what can you expect from this podcast? I will tell you straight up, I am not going to take the majority of my content from YouTube and throw it onto the podcast. This podcast is called Crow's World. This is ultimately going to be a podcast where I interview people in the conspiracy world, the financial markets, cryptocurrency, a lot of different things. It's going to be primarily about interviews. And I'm going to be, the more popular this podcast gets, I am going to be changing that header graphic as well. I'm going to make it a lot more interesting and fun. I'm going to spruce this up. I'm going to continue working on it. I've already submitted to like 15 different podcast platforms. I'm waiting on iTunes. If this gets popular and everybody supports it, and I see everybody listening and doing everything, I promise you I will make this a strong commitment. And I will start actively scheduling really, really good guests. A lot of these interviews that I do are obviously going to be on my YouTube channel as well, but some may not. Because if it's so far removed from cryptocurrency, I'm basically looking at this podcast as a way for me to voice my opinion and have discussions that I find are very interesting, things that I'm genuinely interested in or into myself, secret societies, big conspiracies, UFOs, all that stuff that I have been absolutely in love with since I was a kid. Excuse me. But it's not crypto related. So, I will post this in the super chat, even though it's in the description of this video. Man. And then we will move forward with the content of this video. There you are. I want to see thousands of people subscribing to this podcast to make it worth it. So, first news of the day that I am proud of. Cardano moves ahead towards decentralized blockchain. Cardano, a decentralized public blockchain and cryptocurrency project, is currently upgrading its major CoinBase. IOHK, which is behind the development of Cardano, earlier announced that the changes will be unveiled on the 31st of March. Tomorrow, Altcoin Buzz website reported. The upgrade will lead to a smooth transition from the Byron to the Shelley era. Who's ready for smart contracts? Looks like... I don't know if this article touched on that, but I know Charles touched on the idea that they're basically going to be 1,000 transactions per second based off of the types of smart contracts they're looking to commit to Cardano. And I say that's pretty solid, but I also know that they've been working quite a bit on expandability and scalability and all that. Charles Hoskinson, CEO and founder of IOHK, said that his company has taken 18 months to rewrite the blockchain node of the Byron era. He added that the move will provide a low-risk transition to a fully decentralized blockchain in the Shelley era. Modular technology. During this period, the IOHK has used evidence-based software development methodology to develop a new code for the Byron reboot. They used Haskell's functional programming to write the revised code base in a standard style. This will effectively add to Cardano's scalability. The move aims to update several components of Cardano. The upgrade aims to make the code base standards as it will separate other components of the node such as the ledger and consensus. Byron Reboot is said to be the network's most important release, especially when you mean the retail side. The Byron Reboot is 100% rewritten code, security audited, built with formal methods, and it's 100% built in-house. Hoskinson earlier said, Cardano was very honest when it started. We said that we are a scientific project, and a scientific project project means you do science, and science is unpredictable and takes time. Cardano was never a project that signed up to build yet another cryptocurrency. We have them. We would just be one voice among the 3,000 speaking. And how do we get ahead? Cardano said it will be a project that will carry the burdens, scientific due diligence on the industry, on the entire industry. We are very close to getting a band for the release of Shelley mainnet. That band gives us 2-month time frame for the release of the Shelley mainnet. We will have greater clarity by the end of March as to a 2 to 4 week window when the Shelley launch will occur. Let me just save everybody a bunch of time. When Corona starts to clear up and the market recovers, Shelley mainnet's going live. How about them apples? That's pure speculation. It's nothing that I was told by anybody, but let's just face it. What benefit would there be for them to try and launch this huge mainnet in the midst of all the chaos going on in the markets right now? I just don't see that happening. But I do believe that I think a lot of companies are basically saving their newest developments. A lot of people are getting back to work. A lot of stuff is happening in the blockchain industry. Just because we started to see some pretty steady turnaround in the markets. And the reality is we're so close to the halving. And I'm going to be reading some things that are going to basically make the point I've been making for quite some time now. And we'll go from there. Take a quick look at chat. What's going on? Crow Rogan? I would never be Joe Rogan, unfortunately. He's definitely somebody that I am inspired by for sure. We have similar backgrounds other than me, not being a comedian. I don't really think I'm that funny. I try to be, and the drunker I get, the funnier I think I am, but I just don't think I'm ever going to be a comedian. Shelley isn't smart contracts. That's Goguen. Well, there's a lot to it. But Shelley and Goguen are expected to basically launch hand in hand. So, and it's not talked about a lot, but Charles has said it time and time again that it's basically going to be a simultaneous thing for the most part. Shelley's obviously going to pop first, but shortly, right after, Goggen's going to be coming. So, damn, DC just issued a stay-at-home order. Everybody should be staying at home right now anyway. Why risk it? I like Charles. He's doing a good job as a CEO. I agree. Don't give me financial advice and tell me not what to do with my $1,200 stimulus check, please. I see what you're saying. Yeah, nothing on my channel is to be considered financial advice, ever. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed in any way, shape, or form for any of this. I'm just some dude on the internet talking, sharing my opinion, and trying to educate people as best I can so that you can do your own due diligence and research with a little bit of guidance. So that's a hint. Yes, I got it. It's very clear. What should you do with your $1,200 stimulus check? Honestly, it depends on your circumstances. It's different for everybody. You never, ever, ever want to invest anything into the cryptocurrency markets that you can't afford to lose, because that's known to happen. And, at the same time, you only lose what you sell at a loss. So if you bought something at a higher price point and it goes down and you don't sell it, and then it goes back up, well, did you actually lose anything? No, you just rode the storm. So, typically the way I see it is in the cryptocurrency market, a lot of newcomers to the space, they buy something at a high, and depending on where the market's at the time, which is typically people buy at the peak because they buy when all the hype and FOMO and everything is at its highest, and then the price starts to go down, especially if it's the end of a cycle. And now that we've been through all this, we have a much better understanding as to what to expect and what we're looking for and in what time frames. Though I do believe that there's some data to show that these market cycles are lengthening overall. So, what used to be a 4-year cycle may not necessarily be a 4-year cycle, even though the halving happens every 4 years. I think that the halving is going to be really dependent, or the success of a halving is going to be dependent upon the market sentiment at the time of said halving and then after. So that's what we're waiting to find out. I think this halving period is going to be a very, very interesting time for cryptocurrency as a whole. I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the market. We're already seeing a lot of changes, but in the midst of these changes, what else are we seeing? Well, Here's one part of it. Waiting for the bullish command. More than 1 billion stablecoins balance waiting on exchanges. Over $1 billion worth of stablecoins is currently stored on certain cryptocurrency exchanges. Such an extensive amount sitting on the sideline begs the question if traders are simply waiting for a definitive bullish sign to re-enter the market. Absolutely. We all know this. I need to minimize this a bit so that you guys can see everything I'm seeing. And here. Typically, I have this good to go beforehand, but I forgot. So here we go. Let me fix this. Sorry. There. I have to line this all up just right so that I know exactly where everything starts and ends. Okay, so there we go. Over $1 billion worth of USDT and USDC on exchanges, and that's just a couple of the multiple stable coins out there that are used for trading in and out of different positions. As Crypto Potato reported earlier this month, most stable coins have been increasing drastically in terms of market capitalization. This came during some of the worst trading days for the cryptocurrency market when most digital assets plunged by as much as 50%. At that time, traders rushed to turn their cryptocurrency holdings to stable coins. Consequently, their total market cap grew in contrast to the rest of the market. The most popular monitoring resource, Token Analyst, recently exemplified another area where stable coins have been rising. More specifically, USD Tether, the ERC20 token, and USDC, stored on several cryptocurrency exchanges, have exceeded the coveted $1 billion mark. In March alone, which happened to be one of the most volatile months in a long time, USDT and USDC grew with approximately $600 million. As one can see from the graph above, however, Tether continues to dominate with over 80% of the total market share. It's also worth noting that Token Analyst examined data on 5 cryptocurrency exchanges. Those are Poloniex, KuCoin, Bittrex, Bitfinex, and Binance. The latter, being the leading platform by volume and users, has the most significant amount stored on it. I wonder where CoinBase is not a part of that. What is that $1 billion waiting for? Traders who have allocated portions or all of their portfolios into stablecoins as a precaution due to the violent fluctuations could be waiting for bullish signals to re-enter the market. If that is to happen, such a significant amount of over $1 billion could trigger rapid price movements with Bitcoin and the altcoins. In a massively turbulent month, the primary digital asset seems healthy now. Trading at 63.60 in the past 24 hours, it dipped to 58.50, but since then it has gained over $500 literally overnight while I was sleeping. So many of you on right now. That's pretty good. 328 live viewers, probably a little bit more. Most alternative coins are also in the green as well in the same time frame. Ethereum is above $130, Litecoin is close to 40, Binance Coin over 12, and Bitcoin Cash is at 222. So that's it in a nutshell. I mean, the sentiment is there. Now, I also saw something else recently that basically discussed a Bitcoin trader, a whale, transferred something like $28 million worth of Bitcoin, like 5,500 Bitcoin from his wallet to an exchange. And, typically that means that people are waiting to exit. But my question is, who would be exiting right now? Who would be transferring that amount of Bitcoin to try and tank the market unless they had a leverage short somewhere that they want to push through before, some people are seeing the market right now and the sentiment changing with the Fed and the bailout money and all the stuff that's going on, really reducing the security of the US dollar's value and its use and its position as a global reserve currency. And, there's some argument here. If you happen to watch Alex Mashinsky's lecture video from my Chainwise convention, he covered this significantly, and he basically broke down all of the different economies and societies and so forth, and when they were dominant and how long that reign lasted. Global reserve currencies have tended to last only 100 years. Will Bitcoin be next? In reality, the USD is more dominant than ever, and Bitcoin cannot be a global reserve currency since there is no nation behind it. I've got news for you. It doesn't have to be considered a global reserve currency to be globally used. Bitcoin becoming a global reserve currency to me is a moot point. It doesn't necessarily matter. But the point of this article is ultimately stating that, look, the US dollar has been dominant for over 100 years. Its time is up. Its course has been ran. It is time to explore new options. Now, will it be somebody else's currency? Well, it depends on whether or not somebody else is going to have something backed. And this just goes into the history of, once the Napoleonic Wars ended, the United Kingdom pound became the dominant global currency. It gives a lot of dates, basically gives the history of everything. And it's a very interesting read. A lot of the stuff I'm familiar with, but the overall point and thumb here is the dollar is not going to be around much longer. I mean, it will be likely, but I think it's going to take a digital form. What's happening right now with inflation and with the Fed and all of the debt that we're accruing daily, like $1 million a second or a minute or something like that the Fed is printing. I mean, absolute insanity at interest, no less. The system as we know it is completely broken, and there's no way whatsoever we're ever going to be able to repay this. And as such, there's going to have to be a new train of thought. And if anything, rather than a lot of these old school politicians looking at cryptocurrency as a potential threat, they need to look at it as a potential savior if they could learn how to leverage it properly, regulate it, and secure it properly. They spend a lot of time trying to figure out, what's a security and what's not. They never tell us. None of us really have a clue. When I really believe they should be spending more time on the security, being able to track transactions and catch hackers in their midst. And that's what I think is going to help the cryptocurrency space significantly. And maybe that will happen once these countries start initiating their own blockchain technology. Bitcoin's concept to be off regulatory or government grids not inherent in the Satoshi white paper. I won't read a lot of this, but it's just basically a point for thought. Over the years, Bitcoin did develop an image of a rebel or a nonconformist nature. But the famous crypto dad has something else to say. Christopher Giancarlo, who served as 13th chairman of the United States Commodity Futures Trading Commission, believes that the concept that Bitcoin designed to be off the governmental or regulatory grid is not inherent in the Satoshi white paper. In a recent podcast, Giancarlo said, in fact, the Satoshi white paper talks about Bitcoin as a means of avoiding intermediation by commercial entities, by banks and others. But there is no reference there to be off regulatory or government grids. And I agree with that because I don't really think that's the case either. I just think it's something new and pseudo-anonymous. But you can track blockchain activity, okay? It's difficult in some cases with some of the tools out there, but, people are laundering money in a variety of different ways. Like, I don't see that ever truly changing, but I do believe that I believe that there are ways to track money laundering through the blockchain much easier than you're going to track a bunch of people who open up massage parlors and start funneling their cash through there. There are a lot more ways to launder US dollars, paper money, than there are blockchain currencies. So I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong. I mean, look, the sooner we get clear regulations of the cryptocurrency space and we know what's okay and what's not, what's a security and what isn't, and we have very, very clear guidelines, I believe that's going to be a very good thing for the space. And I think overall, anybody, whoever it was, whether it was an individual person or a team of people that collectively created Bitcoin, they are not unintelligent people. And I think the way that they structured the algorithm and the way they planned for the launch and how its use case was going to grow over time, they knew that this was going to become a regulated issue. And I think that's okay. That's to be expected with something like this. I think the idea is to become a hedge against the financial crisis, such as the one that's bearing down on us right now. And I think overall, it's pretty obvious Bitcoin isn't going anywhere, but the US dollar is. And so the problem is that right now it's a lot easier to use the US dollar to obtain things and services of value than it is Bitcoin. But once that transition starts to really pick up steam, and as the mass adoption for altcoins continues to grow with strong companies, strong use cases, and higher transactional volume day to day that's constantly being traded back to and from the Bitcoin store of asset type system, that's just going to help the space overall. It's going to help all of us. And I think it's going to help perpetuate the overall mission of cryptocurrencies and help it become more widely accepted and adopted. Cryptocurrency optimism is strong after gold shortage fears and bullion market. The London Bullion Market Association has reportedly offered support to American derivatives company CME Group after it allegedly faced difficulties sourcing sufficient gold bullion to physically settle its expiring futures contracts. This sparked fear in the bullion market, resulting in a 4% divergence in the spot and futures prices of gold, spot prices. As a result, the precious metals status as a safe haven asset has come under heavy scrutiny of late. I mean, how much more do we need to see what's really going on? On March 11th of 2020, the LBMA reported an all-time high in daily volumes as it sold gold futures contracts worth almost $100 billion. 2 weeks later, however, the CME Group is struggling to deliver physical gold at the time of settlement. Now, according to experts like Royce Sabaj, I'm not sure, there's a strong possibility that banks sold futures contracts without having sufficient reserves of the asset and are now struggling at the time of delivery. Story of their lives. Guys, I rest my case. The more this kind of shit runs rampant through our markets and our economies, it's just, you know, I saw at one point banks had to have a specific amount of reserves to be able to liquidate a percentage of people that are wanting to either cash out or get their money out of a bank or whatever. And now banks are basically loaning whatever they want to without regard to whether or not they even have the funds. Not just gold, but just U.S. currency overall. If everyone in the country right now went to the bank and tried to pull their funds out, betcha you couldn't. I bet you they would lock you down. I bet you they would create a whole bunch of issues on why you wouldn't be allowed to do so within an X time frame, and then that would continue to get extended and extended because they don't have it. They don't have it. And the thing that bothers me too is even these banks, these corporate-owned banks with shareholders and the like, they have a fiduciary responsibility to maintain profitability to their shareholders, which means it's almost like an illegal act for them to not take profit or to generate profit where possible for its shareholders. And so but the very nature of that capitalistic methodology, that business model, if you will, is to just take money wherever you can, you know, and these banks make so much money, yet it's being pushed into the different shares and dividends and this and that, which is great to some extent, but there's no cap or limit. There's no real structure. There's no oversight. There's nothing that says, well, we can't pay our bank president a $50 billion bonus or a $50 million bonus or whatever the hell it is. And these banks, man, they just need to go. They just need to go. That's all I'm rambling about. They need to go away. You know, the new system needs to really come about and spread. And, you know, each and every one of us in this space has a goal, has our job laid out for us in the sense that we need to spread the word, continue spreading the word, find some blockchain dApps, some applications that will help make your life more fun or interesting. I don't care if they're games. Hell, at this point, I don't even care if it's gambling as long as you're not risking anything that's going to hurt you if you lost it all, because you likely will. Just stuff that keeps the wheels turning and keeps people coming in. And I, you know, if I had my way, I would develop some really amazing dApps, but I just don't have I don't have the resources. But I would love to create some really sophisticated applications on some of these blockchains that I know would be widely adopted and used. I have one in particular in mind, but I doubt that it's going to happen, but we'll see. So anyway, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I want to make sure that you guys know I'm going to link this one more time. I want to see some subscribers on this podcast. If you, and I will say, I get a little edgy, not really edgy, but I get a little rawr in your face and loud during a lot of my afternoon stuff. But a lot of these podcasts I'm probably going to be doing in the evenings with different guests. I am talking to Cliff High. I'd like to do kind of a long form conversation about a whole bunch of different stuff with Cliff High. I just find the guy super interesting. And he's always very receptive to me. Anytime I email him, he's very accommodating and he's very nice. But he did say, I was speaking to him. We swapped some emails recently, and he's like, this Corona thing's got everything in a tailspin. He was like, it's just, his time is difficult. I'm starting to really hate the effing banks. You're just starting to hate the banks? How? Where have you been, brother? Like, the whole reason we're in the crypto space, the whole reason that the inception of Bitcoin overall is because of the banks and the Fed and just the way that these economies are worked. Crow rant in 543. No, I'm not feeling ranty today. I'm really not. I think I feel very clear-headed, if anything. Any update on the Cardano pool? I noticed 5 days with 0 ROI. Yeah, because there were some updates to the network that were needed because a lot of things have changed. And I know that Mr. Lee, my main dev, he recognized what was going on, and if he hasn't already resolved it, I know he was planning to very soon. Adam R, what's up, man? And I saw your stuff yesterday, like you were concerned you were doing something. You were fine. I mean, just so you know, I was reading everything, and for whatever reason, you got a bunch of your stuff got deleted. It was the bot from whatever. I don't even know what you said, but for whatever reason, the bot didn't like what you were saying. But you were fine. I saw it. I know. Yeah, Hal, come on, man. You got to get with it. That's why we're all here. Do you think Cardano will outperform Ethereum in DeFi? Ethereum has a huge first mover advantage. Yeah, that's true. They also have the first. Here's the thing about Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum to me feels like the global beta for blockchain technology, right? Like Cardano's inception was basically to launch a blockchain capable of doing everything Ethereum couldn't while resolving a lot of its current problems. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so much more bullish on Cardano than I am Ethereum. I think its scientific approach, while much more lengthy in duration and development cycles, is just better overall. And I think what they're doing is they're trying to build this out in a modular way so that it can be expanded upon and scaled upon based off of its use case and the changes and what's required of it in the future. You could try to build a blockchain based off of what's going on today, based off of what you think it's going to be used for and what you think is going to be possible. But the real innovation is developing a blockchain that you can grow and scale without hard forks and things of that nature. And I think ultimately Cardano is just going to be answering a lot of questions that Ethereum is likely going to continue to have for quite a long time. So, I definitely do believe that Cardano is going to outperform Ethereum moving forward. Once it's Shelley and Goguen and all that stuff has officially launched and it's done, and then I think from that point it's going to be about the partnerships and being able to once it's a truly decentralized blockchain with scalability and the ability to write code in various languages, and I just think it's just going to be better overall. And I think that it's created such a buzz since it's the idea began that I don't see how it can't give Ethereum and in other stuff a significant run for its money. And believe me, I'm banking on that. You should check out Edge of Wonder, guys, for your podcast. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not going to be able to really get anybody's attention on my podcast until subscribers go up. So, if the subscriber numbers on my podcast start to go and grow quickly, I will be able to get some more and more interesting guests because, I mean, nobody wants to be. Here's the thing. I want to get some really cool conversations going. And right now, the only outlet I have for those are my YouTube channel. But then if I start doing if I do something on secret societies or conspiracy theories or something like that, Welcome, personal crypto. If I do stuff like that and it's not crypto related, and I do it as a video first on my channel to get that my guest exposure, then I'm going to get people complaining. That's not what this channel's about. I'm unsubscribing. And people love to point out, like, when you screw up or you do something they don't like and then they leave you forever. And people are so finicky about that. And so it's kind of like, it's a catch-22. Do I want to grow a podcast and spend 10 years building it, trickle by trickle, or do I want to figure out a way to get the guests that are going to be interesting, that I really want to talk to? And how can I boost my channel or my subscribers on that podcast? So, I'm not going to lie, I think I've kind of committed to some degree where I would love to have like a serious satellite radio station or a channel or a show, whether it's a 2-hour show or whatever. But in order to do that, I have to be able to prove that I have a listening audience. And so that's ultimately what my goal is right now. And there's a lot of stuff I would love to be able to do for everybody. I'd like to have I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I would like to do, and hopefully that'll come in time, but I've got to build it up in the best way I know how. So if you like me and you support what I'm doing, make sure you subscribe to that podcast, and there'll be lots of benefits to doing so in the future. Dude, you wearing pants? No, I'm not wearing pants. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing shorts. They're gray. They're gray shorts. I'm never on here naked. So for those of you guys that are gay for Crow, don't get your hopes up. Is Cardano to Ethereum comparable to Google to Yahoo? Ooh, that's a really good question. I think to an extent, maybe, but yeah, that could be a really good analogy, I guess, if you will. How much ADA do you hold? I will never tell. You never wear pants. I don't. I've always got the fan going too. It is so hot down here. My office is this. It's a pretty large room with 2 double doors that go off into the rest of the outside there. But I have no windows, and it gets really hot in here. I have enough Cardano that if it gets to $5 at any point in the next 5 to 10 years, I will be very, 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 very happy. And everybody, like, all my kids are going to be taken care of. Everyone in my family will be taken care of. Everybody will be very happy. LOL, gay for Crow. Welcome to the new world. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and call it here. Looks like Bitcoin's getting a nice little pump this afternoon, so I'd love to see 7,000. And again, I want to make sure I reiterate, I do believe that the signs are pointing to a potential rally here in the not so distant future, because this is my goal. I mean, that's where I expect us to be at some point before this halving. And, I don't know if it's going to be right before. This is $14,000. And I think that I expect wholeheartedly to see something in this window, something in here between now and the halving. And then I think post-halving, it's very likely that we're going to see a little bit of a dip. Maybe like if we got to 14,000, we might see a little $1,000 dip or so, down to around 13,000. And then assuming by this time, Corona is going to start clearing up and things should start lightening up for people. And I think the markets are just going to absolutely explode from there. And then keep in mind that if this were to happen, and keep in mind, this isn't financial advice, and I'm not even a technical analysis guy. I'm always just experimenting with different indicators and things to see what's accurate, what's fun, what's easy to use, what's worth telling the people about, that sort of thing. I've still been playing with this Profit Sniper a little bit by Keith Waring, who I like that guy. I want to use words that he uses all the time and like just tease him, but I'm not going to. But I do like his attitude, and I like his personality. He's pretty much a straight up kind of like, F the world. So, I'm still very much bullish, and anything could happen. Maybe we do dip to $3,000 before we start to really rank up prior to the halving. But I think regardless of what happens at some point, as we get closer to this halving mark, I do expect to see a fairly significant rally, whether that takes us to 11,000 or to 14,000 or even beyond. I don't know. And I'm not trading on any of this. It doesn't matter how bullish I am. I'm about accumulation and holding. And so until then, thanks for joining me, guys. Make sure you subscribe to my podcast. Link is in the description. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you again soon. Grow your coins, folks, and have a very good Monday.